Welcome to the City Property Subcommittee meeting of the Fitchburg City Council. Please be aware that we are recording this meeting and that we are in the West Meeting Room at City Hall this evening. If someone would like to volunteer to take minutes, otherwise I will do it, and I do this at your peril. So I will do my best, but I will need people to sign in just so I get names correctly spelled, etc. So let me send a sheet around. And we have one item on our agenda tonight. Welcome, Mayor Squalia. We have what's that? Yes, today is Tuesday, March the 26th. It is approximately 5:35. I am coming from pet therapy, which is why I'm not dressed more formally. So we have before us the conservation easement agreement. This was part of our meeting 10 days ago or thereabouts. 11th. Yeah, March 11th. And after we had voted, after we had discussed, after we had voted, after City Solicitor Mead had put the amended language, which was, and I made a bunch of copies so you all can see what the amended language was. Thank you, Councillor Van Hazinga, for bringing in the hard copy. We had this first paragraph, conservation easement agreement. Conservation was put in place of landscaping so that those two items would conform. On the second page, we put in item C, the third in the agreement, there's item number 1, ABC. So in item C, removal of any structures on the easement area except such existing drainage, utility and other structures as from time to time are necessary and incidental to and we deleted development and now it just reads maintenance of the CRNT property approved by the decision of the Fitchburg Zoning Board of Appeals dated September 27, 2023 and recorded in the Worcester North District Registry of Deeds of Book 10655, page 369, collectively entitled Permitted Structures and quote, CRNT expressly reserving the right to construct, install, and maintain the capital letters permitted structures in the easement area. And that is the sum total of the amendments or the edits that were discussed and then agreed upon. So I think I'd like to open it up to Attorney Tree and also City Solicitor Mead. If you could kind of take us through where we are now, what we need to do tonight, that would be helpful. Sure.
So I think I will, Christine was there, I think that night too. So I did the red line changes and asked who counsel was for the developer, and didn't have an answer to that. But then by the time it no sooner had left my inbox or my outbox, I guess, I heard from Attorney Levine, who is the counsel for the owner, and he said that he was objecting. He wanted to know what the changes were. And I said, well, you have the red line. And he was objecting to the change in subparagraph C, because he said that it wasn't consistent with what they had previously agreed to. And so at that point in time, it was very late as to the city council meeting. And I didn't, at that time, until Christine sent to me, I didn't have, because I wasn't involved in the original negotiation of it. I didn't have the zoning board decision or any other background. So I told him that I would ask the city council president to pull it off of the agenda and have it go back to the properties committee to make sure that everybody understood those positions before the properties committee voted, and they could vote again exactly the very same way. But that I would make that effort to do that. And so that's exactly how we got back here. I have since then read the decision of the zoning board, and Lou's not here. Is the property owner here?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're the property owner. So I've since read it. Lou's position was that taking out, adding existing and taking development and would prevent any changes to the drainage necessarily in the open space area. And that's actually consistent with the zoning board decision. Your changes are consistent with the zoning board decision. And so the intent is that there shouldn't be any changes in the conservation easement area. And so I have no problem with changes the properties committee made. I think it's consistent with the ZBA decision. I'd be interested to hear, of course, what the position of the property owner is, but I don't have an issue with it. I think if the properties division wants this changed, they should have it because it makes it consistent with the zoning board decision, and that takes away any confusion about whether or not there can be any changes for whatever reason in the conservation easement area.
Okay, I guess we can hear from the property owners.
So, at the meeting, I specifically asked Sally, I said, the only thing that's gonna be changed on the agreement is that one word from landscape to conservation. And you had said, yes, it's on the report. So that was that one word, and I said, I'm perfectly fine with that, because I asked you directly after you closed the meeting. And you said, yes, nobody said anything about any of the other stuff. But like I said, weather patterns change, and I don't want anyone to come back to me and say, oh, well, we're getting, torrential rains and now we have a water problem, you need to fix it, where the agreement says I can't. Because things change. We just want to make sure that when we walk away from this, they're not going to be coming, oh, your water's on my property. We've already fixed it once. So once this is done, we're not going to have to go back and fix it because you're saying right here, we can't do it.
Right, you can't come into the conservation easement area according to the ZBA decision, and I'd be interested to hear from Christine,
We can go to the conservation
is
easement.
make changes.
We can't put any structures, we can't put any drainage,
Correct.
we can't do anything.
Which
that
should be
fix any
consistent.
future problems that could happen with
Right.
water runoff from there.
Correct. You would have to take care of it outside of, that doesn't mean you can't take care of it. It means you would have to take care of it outside of the conservation easement area, consistent with your stormwater plan and your stormwater report, which is in the zoning board decision.
If I may, there is a drainage structure that is within the easement. That goes all the way, streams all the way up to the property line within 5 feet. What Joanne is mentioning here, and first of all, we're not opposed to the change. We're just trying to protect
Yeah,
all parties involved.
that everybody
okay?
understands.
If this language proceeds and is approved, it prevents us from making any modifications to that drainage structure if we do encounter a 200-year flood and it gets wiped out, or any of the above, prevents any maintenance to that structure. So further development, and so I'm fine with leaving it.
You want to leave it? That's
We're fine.
fine.
It doesn't prevent maintenance. It says necessary and incidental to the maintenance.
If I might, for a
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah, we're fine with the way it is.
So,
Guys,
so,
just,
Christine,
please.
number one, the changes were discussed at the meeting, if you remember, and I know
Yeah,
that
they were.
meetings go by. I turned to you because what I wanted to make sure was that none of the work that had to be done, it was my understanding that you had very, very well finished the work that had to be done by December 31st. We were so happy with that.
Yeah.
That all of that work had been done, put in and finished before those that we were referenced existing, because I wanted to make sure you could complete the work you had to complete. Maintenance allows you to go in and maintain what is there, whether or not it's on the conservation property.
Okay,
So if you need to, let's say that there's a pipe that is underneath there for drainage and you need to go in and replace the pipe because part of it broke, you can do that. That's part of maintenance.
okay, that's fine.
And then the other thing I want to make sure you understand is because we left in the easement provision an allowance for the property owner and the easement holder to agree to modifications. If there were something where there was a massive flood and it was affecting the butters and you could, fix it by putting a little bit of additional drainage in, you and the city can agree on that.
Right.
Which is one of the good purposes of having that ability to modify the agreement to meet future conditions that might arise. So, I do feel like the, changes were merely clarifying the fact that it couldn't be used for future development. So for instance, I don't know if there were the ability to put in one more unit down at the other end or another.
No, we don't have any plans, we've been through that. It
Yeah,
Specifically says we can't. We're not looking
But
at
when we draft language, we drafted for the worst behavior of all parties involved, knowing that sometimes it's not the parties that are here that are gonna be involved as well, so that there's no mistake about what the intent is. So as long as there's not, to your knowledge, a need to do more building
No,
in order to comply with the current plan, then I think this meets what your concerns would be about.
I would agree. So in fact, that paragraph C allows for the necessary incidental maintenance on this property. And then paragraph 5 allows for modification. So, if something has to be fixed, you're allowed to go in and fix it.
first,
I don't believe that you have to have permission.
I don't think for maintenance.
No.
If you need
No, it
to.
automatically gives you that right
okay,
under the agreement.
yeah, I mean, I tried to talk at the last meeting, but I wasn't able to talk, so we probably could have ironed it out at the other meeting.
Can I just clarify? Can I just,
What was?
I just didn't understand that you had to sign in ahead of time at the beginning of the meeting to talk.
Yeah, the city council has a, it's in our bylaws and yeah, you
I had
you
no
sign it.
idea,
So,
so.
okay, well, again, that was procedural, but you know, here we are, the 11 days later or less than a week, so. Council Walsh.
I just wanted to point out, I think by the time you got there, the time for public comment had gone by, and that's why. And when you asked to speak, there was already a motion and it was seconded. And the rules say that once that happens, only city councilors can address the issue. So when you got up to speak, it would have violated council rules, and that was the only reason.
We're not here to make any step.
We just wanna do what we're supposed to do, we've been jumping through hoops to make everything work.
To be honest with you, we're worried about her. Getting us, getting mad at us. We didn't fulfill our obligation at first.
I'm glad that you
Honestly.
took our discussion so seriously.
We have
We've said
been serious.
Yeah, I think we're gonna need an extension. I don't know how soon this is gonna take to get signed. I know Sam's signing tonight.
This has to go to.
Has to go back to city council,
So
that's next Tuesday.
Christine is aware of the April 1st deadline in the ZBA decision. This is obviously not your doing necessarily. So that it's gonna go back to the city council on Tuesday.
Correct.
So the city council will approve it on Tuesday night and then it'll come out and the mayor can sign it. So if everybody does it in a timely
And
manner.
once it's signed, then the occupancy permits are released for those other 2 lots.
Recorded as well.
Yes, I'll have it recorded as soon as you get it to me.
Yeah, and I mean, we have to take that action at a meeting, so it'll have to be the meeting that you're next scheduled for, which is May.
I just requested for the site visit too.
The site visit is for the ZBA members,
For the trees. That we got told by Doug Caves.
so I'll have to reach out to Mercedes.
I
and do
sent an
the
email to Mercedes the other day to request that,
schedule. Okay,
so that we can see when you guys wanted to come out to do that.
yeah, that would be great, the weather's getting better now, so.
And
hopefully
I'm
that'll-
trying to line up paving and we got pretty much all the lots, so.
All the residents will be ready after the.
Well, yeah.
It's done, yeah.
We can retire, finally.
Hopefully.
Okay, so it sounds like we're all moving in the same direction, language wise. I know that we have some guests, who I would like to make sure they have a chance to speak if they would like to. So Mary Ellen, Councilor Fleming, anyone?
No, my questions have been answered.
And I think mine have too. I'm Mary Ellen Bauer and I'm on 71 Bennett Road. And the pipe is, the drainage is where the water head comes over on our side, or just standing water. And it has raised up on Sunday. I did go over there, we have 8 inches of water on our side. And there's water on the other side. And what's happening is that the park had to be built up to get the pitch down to the retention drain. So when the park was raised up, our water isn't, either was groundwater or flowed through naturally for years and years and years, it's backed up. So it's caused, obviously, the vegetation and trees to die on our property. So I don't know if it's how it will be fixed. I think it will drain eventually once it raises up to the level of the pipe, because I've seen it when it got to about 14 inches on our side. It's a big pool, but it does eventually drain out to the pipe. But we will have standing water there. So I don't know how it will be fixed, but I just wanna, as long as I know it be maintained, and if there has to be something that has to be modified, it can be. We'll have like a vernal pool eventually.
Okay.
So,
Christine?
yeah, just to clarify, is this within the easement area or not within, it's within the easement area?
It's in the easement.
So, to me, that's something that would require the permission of both parties in order to address that, because if there's any new infrastructure that's needed to fix the draining, then it requires the permission of both parties. If you have a drain that is not functioning, that exists but is not functioning well, and could, be maybe widened a little bit, I think that would probably fall within maintenance, because the purpose of it is to drain.
Yeah.
It's a very fact-specific question that you're asking, that I think
And I'm not-
that's once it comes up.
I'm obviously not an engineer, I just see
Yeah.
what I see.
Yeah.
And, then I can see that the area, you guys have water on your side, there's water here, and until it gets to a spot, it won't grow and grow and grow and grow, I don't think, because the water will come up to a level and go out. It's just unfortunately, everything in that area is dead, and it won't come back, because trees and laurel doesn't go in water. So,
Then maybe there are some new native species that would enjoy the environment a little bit more. I'm not an engineer either, and I have no plans to go back to a school to acquire. So, again, I think there's a fact-specific answer to your question that, would need to come up, and once the resolution knows, then we could look at it and see, is it a repair?
Yep.
Is it part of the planting of new species that is going to take place once the city has the easement? Or is it something larger in scale that we have to look at modification?
thank you, everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Peter, did you want to speak?
I think once the hay bales are removed, that might help the water flow through the pipe a little easier.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think the hay bales prevent the water going in, I think it's just holding back the sediment, because I've seen it go through.
That's for the sediment, but it also slows down the flow of the water through.
Once the
It hasn't
grass
got up
grows,
there.
once the grass grows,
We'll see.
it's just gonna get time.
Okay.
I want to make sure, maybe you can answer me, Christine can. The city's not gonna be responsible for the redemption pond wall, right? When I drove in there today, I saw the pipe, and I saw the drain, and I saw the grass growing, and we're not gonna be responsible, it's gonna be you guys, we own it, we're gonna cut down the trees and that. I just wanna make sure that I understand that when I'm going.
Well, I should want to cut the grass.
What's that?
I'll cut the grass. and-
No.
We got plenty.
No, I understand what she's saying, because I saw some water in the pond up
I
there.
mean, it's puddles everywhere right now.
Yeah, so the easement,
Nobody's got any trees.
Nobody's cutting any trees. He's just making an example of who's gonna maintain it. There's nothing in the trees.
Yeah, guys.
Right.
So just to explain, I'm a general contractor out of Boston, I build high rises, and I understand hydraulic pressures. What it is there, it's no different from a dam. Lake rises, right? And eventually the lake subsides as the water goes over the dam. It's no different from this whole cul-de-sac system. You have a bowl of water coming out, all three sides of that, all filtering down to, funneling down to one central location. That water collects there and then comes into that one pipe. As that water's coming down in a torrential downpour, it's gonna collect there it'll subside as the water from the hill subsides. So once that rain stops, that water will dissipate. It's meant as a minimal sump there, what that is. So if we take all that siltation that's coming off that hill, whether it be leaf debris, grass litter, even sediments comes down, it has to have a settling area. That settling area is the maintenance on the operational maintenance program. To every year, you have to take all that out, all that vegetation out, because otherwise it'll clog the city systems. So that is designed just that way, to have just a slight depression there, so the water and all this debris filters and sets there. And then the water surface comes in and pours out into the basin. Every year, we're obligated to clean that sediment out for any sediment that would potentially run into the city systems. It's
Right.
designed just that way. It's
Settling
2/10.
system.
There's a 2/10 variation on the sump of that and the inlet of that pipe, and that's how it's designed.
To address the counselor's question, Madam Chair,
Yes.
the easement that Christine and the former city solicitor negotiated does allow the city to direct if necessary and otherwise have them maintain the area, do plantings or
Yeah.
or landscaping is necessary to maintain the area. So it's not the responsibility of the city, but if the city sees something, then they can tell them to do it.
I just wanna make sure because I have a retention pond up in my area and they don't maintain it.
Is it a detention pond?
That's
Is
a
it-
detention like you have up there right
Well, I
on
have-
Quarry Lane.
When you first come in, the woodland on the left.
Yeah,
That's the detention pond. What she's talking about is way in the back on the end by the cul-de-sac, there's a V pipe that sticks out at the end near the property.
Oh, I see
You
it.
can really see it.
I didn't get out of my car.
That's what I'm saying, it's
I was up
way
there.
in the
You won't
back.
see it unless you walk through.
It's two different things. The detention pond doesn't really need any maintenance.
I saw the pipes coming up and I saw the big drain and I saw the other one.
That's the detention
Yeah.
pond itself.
That's
That
what I
needs
thought you
no
were talking about
maintenance.
down, because I didn't get out of my car when I was up there. Because I didn't feel comfortable, because I didn't get permission to go up there.
Yeah, the one she's talking about is way down the other end.
I'm sorry, I didn't know that.
All right, Mr. Melanson? Do you have a?
I'm all set.
Okay. Mayor, this is your field.
I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve the agreement as amended.
Second.
Okay, any discussion further on the motion? Okay, all in favor? Aye, okay, motion passes. Any opposed? Not, motion passes unanimously.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion, second, all in favor? Meeting adjourned, 6:50, 5:57.